3 days after the humans' shocking revelation to the Galactic Council, High Counselor Zenthara called Ambassador Tae Min to a private meeting. The crystal being looked troubled, her inner light flickering in patterns that showed deep confusion. "Ambassador," she began, "the Council has been debating your species' membership for days. We have never faced this situation before." Tae Min sat quietly, waiting for her to continue. "Some council members believe that any species capable of organized violence cannot be trusted. They fear that humans will bring war to our peaceful galaxy." "And what do you believe?" asked Tae Min. Zenthara's light pulsed slowly. "I believe in second chances. I believe that even predator species might be capable of growth. But I cannot convince the others with words alone." She activated a holographic display, showing a beautiful blue-green world. "This is Sanctuary 7, home to the Serentai people. They are the most peaceful species in the galaxy. For 1 billion years, they have lived without violence of any kind. They communicate through harmony, feed on starlight, and have never known fear." Tae Min studied the peaceful world. "It sounds like paradise." "It is," agreed Zenthara. "And this is where humanity's test will take place." "Test?" "The Council has decided that humanity must prove it has evolved beyond its predatory nature. You will send representatives to live among the Serentai for 1 full cycle, approximately 6 of your months. If your people can live in perfect peace during that time, the Council will consider granting you membership." Tae Min was quiet for a long moment. "And if we fail this test? Then humanity will be declared too dangerous for galactic civilization. You will be asked to return to your home system and remain there." The ambassador nodded slowly. "I understand. What are the conditions of this test?" "Your representatives may bring no weapons, no military technology, and no equipment that could be used for violence. They must live as the Serentai live, in perfect harmony with nature and each other." "How many representatives?" "No more than 20. Choose carefully, Ambassador. The future of human-galactic relations depends on their behavior." That evening, Tae Min met with Captain Sora and her senior staff aboard the Resilience. When he explained the Council's test, the reaction was mixed. "6 months on a peaceful world," said Dr. Min-A. "That doesn't sound so difficult." "Without weapons," added Security Chief Hyun-woo grimly. "Without any way to defend ourselves if something goes wrong." "What could go wrong on the most peaceful world in the galaxy?" asked Dr. Do-hyun. Captain Sora was studying the data about Sanctuary 7. "The question isn't what could go wrong there. The question is what might follow us there." "The Ravagers," said Hyun-woo, understanding immediately. "Exactly. If they've been tracking Council ships, and they see humans landing on Sanctuary 7, they might attack the planet," finished Tae Min. Sora nodded. "And if that happens, 20 unarmed humans won't be able to protect an entire world of peaceful aliens." "So we refuse the test?" asked Dr. Min-A. "No," said Tae Min firmly. "We can't refuse. This is our only chance for acceptance into the galactic community." Sora thought for a moment. "Then we choose our team very carefully. Dr. Min-A, you'll lead the medical team. Dr. Do-hyun, you'll be our scientific representative. I want botanist Kyung-soo and anthropologist Ha-yoon as well." "What about security?" asked Hyun-woo. "No security personnel," said Sora. "That would send the wrong message, but—" She paused, thinking. "We choose people who can protect themselves and others without obvious weapons." "Engineers," said Woo Jin suddenly. "Engineers can turn anything into a weapon if they need to." "Exactly. And medical personnel who know how to fight, scientists who understand tactics, people who look peaceful but aren't helpless." The selection process took 2 days. In the end, the human team consisted of 15 specialists chosen for their ability to appear non-threatening while remaining capable of defending themselves and others if necessary. Ambassador Tae Min would lead the team. Dr. Min-A would handle medical needs. Dr. Do-hyun would study Serentai culture and biology. Kyung-soo would work with their agriculture, and Ha-eun would document their society. The other 10 were carefully chosen engineers, scientists, and specialists who looked like civilians but had military training or survival skills. The transport to Sanctuary 7 was provided by the Council, a beautiful, unarmed vessel that looked more like a work of art than a spacecraft. As they traveled, the humans studied everything they could about their destination. The Serentai were unlike any species they had encountered. They were crystalline beings, but not solid like the Velthari. Instead, they were made of living crystal that could change color and shape. They communicated through harmonic vibrations that created beautiful music. They've never experienced violence, Dr. Do-hyun explained to the team. The concept doesn't exist in their language. They have no words for war, fighting, or conflict. How do they handle disagreements? Asked Ha-eun. They sing together until they reach harmony. Literally. They use music to find solutions that work for everyone. That's beautiful, said Dr. Min-ae. It is, agreed Do-hyun. But it also means they have no defenses if something attacks them. Sanctuary. 7 was indeed a paradise. The world was covered in crystal forests that sang in the wind. Rivers of liquid light flowed between musical mountains. Cities grew like songs made solid, spiraling up toward the sky in perfect harmony. The Serentai, who greeted them, was an elder named Yentara. She was tall and graceful, her crystal body shining with soft blue light. When she spoke, her voice was like a choir of bells. "Welcome, children of Earth," she sang. "We have prepared homes for you in the Harmony Grove. We hope you will find peace among us." The humans were given a section of the Crystal City to live in. Their homes were grown from the same living crystal as everything else, shaped by the Serentai's songs into beautiful, functional spaces. For the first month, everything went perfectly. The humans adapted to Serentai life with surprising ease. Kyung-soo worked with their farmers, learning how they grew food using only sunlight and song. Dr. Min-ae studied their biology and found that they literally couldn't feel anger or hatred. Their nervous systems were incapable of such emotions. Ha-eun documented their culture and found it endlessly fascinating. The Serentai had no government because they had no need for one. Decisions were made by singing together until everyone agreed. Conflicts were resolved through musical harmony sessions that could last for days. "It's incredible," she told Tae-min one evening, as they watched the sunset paint the crystal trees in brilliant colors. "They've created a truly perfect society." "They have," agreed Tae-min. "But I keep wondering, what? What happens when perfection meets imperfection?" Dr. Do-hyun was having the same concerns. His studies of Serentai history showed that they had indeed lived in perfect peace for over 1,000,000,000 years. But they had also never faced any real challenges. No natural disasters, no resource shortages, no external threats. "They're like children," he confided to Dr. Min-ae. "Beautiful, innocent children who have never had to grow up." "Is that a bad thing?" she asked. "I hope not," said Do-hyun. "But I have a feeling we're about to find out." The answer came during their second month on Sanctuary 7. Dr. Do-hyun was working in his laboratory when the long-range sensors detected something approaching the system. Ships, large ships, moving in formation. He ran the sensor data through his computer and felt his blood turn cold. The energy signatures matched the Ravager vessels they had fought at Kethra. "Ambassador," he called over the communication system. "We have a problem." Within minutes, the human team had gathered in their main meeting room. The data was displayed on a holographic screen, showing the approaching fleet. "How many?" asked Tae-min. "Over 500 ships," said Do-hyun. "Much larger than the force at Kethra." "How long before they arrive?" 6 hours. The room was silent as everyone absorbed this information. "What do we do?" asked Kyung-soo. Tai-min looked around the room at his team. We warned the Serentai and helped them evacuate. Evacuate where? Asked Ha-un. This is their home. They've lived here for 1 billion years. Then they'll have to find a new home, said Dr. Minei, because in 6 hours this world is going to become a battlefield. They found Elder Yentara in the central harmony chamber, leading the evening song that synchronized the entire planet's daily rhythm. When Tae-min explained about the approaching Ravagers, her crystalline form went completely dark. I do not understand, she sang in a confused harmony. You speak of creatures that wish to harm us. But why would anyone want to cause harm? Because that's what they do, said Tae-min. They consume other life forms. They're coming to feed on your people. Then we shall sing to them, said Yentara. We shall show them the beauty of harmony. Surely they will understand and choose peace. Dr. Do-hyun stepped forward. Elder Yentara, these creatures cannot be reasoned with. They are not capable of choosing peace. You need to evacuate your people immediately. Evacuate? The concept seemed as foreign to her as violence. This is our home. We cannot simply leave. You can and you must, said Tai-min urgently. Call your ships. Get your people to safety. Our ships? Yentara's light pulsed with confusion. We have no ships. Why would we need to leave our world? The humans stared at her in shock. You have no spacecraft? Asked Ha-un. The 20 humans had 4 hours to save a billion-year-old civilization with nothing but their minds and whatever they could build. Ambassador Tae-min divided his team into groups. Dr. Min-ae and her medical team began organizing evacuation centers in the deepest crystal caves. Kyung-soo and the agricultural specialists started gathering Serentai civilians and moving them to protected areas. Dr. Do-hyun worked frantically with Ha-un and the engineers to turn the Serentai's peaceful technology into weapons. It seemed impossible at first. The crystal beings had never built anything designed to hurt. Their entire technology is based on harmony and growth, said Do-hyun, staring at holographic displays of Serentai equipment. Everything resonates, everything sings, everything creates instead of destroys. Then we make it sing louder, said engineer Seung-ho, who had been part of the cultural exchange team. Much louder. What do you mean? Asked Ha-yun. The Serentai. Control their crystal technology through harmonic frequencies, right? What happens if we take those frequencies and amplify them beyond safe levels? Do-hyun's eyes widened. Harmonic overload. The crystals would shatter or explode, said Seung-ho grimly. Their power systems are essentially giant resonating crystals. If we can overload them, we turn their cities into bombs, finished Do-hyun. It was a terrible plan. It would destroy much of the Serentai's beautiful world, but it might be the only way to stop the Ravagers. Meanwhile, Tae-min was trying to convince Elder Yentara to let them help coordinate the defense. Elder, your people need to get to safety. The crystal caves will provide some protection, but only if everyone moves quickly. Yentara's crystalline form pulsed with distress. This concept of hiding, of being afraid, it is foreign to us. We do not understand. You don't need to understand, said Tae-min gently. You just need to trust us. We've seen what the Ravagers do. Please help us save your people. Around them, the Serentai population was beginning to move. They didn't understand the danger, but they could sense the humans' urgency. Their natural harmony made them responsive to the emotional state of those around them. Young Serentai began helping the elderly toward the caves. Their movements were graceful and musical, even in crisis. They sang soft harmonies as they walked, instinctively trying to calm each other. One young Serentai, barely more than a child, approached Tae-min. Her crystal body was pale pink, like sunrise through clouds. Human friend, she sang in a voice like silver bells, are you truly going to protect us? Tae-min knelt down to her level. "We're going to try. Will you save us?" she asked. The question hit Taemin like a physical blow. This innocent being, who had never known fear or violence, was asking him to be her protector. The weight of that trust was enormous. "Yes," he said simply. "We will save you." High above Sanctuary 7, the Ravager fleet dropped out of hyperspace. Dr. Do-hyun watched the sensor readings with growing horror. 537 ships, the largest fleet ever recorded. Through the communication system, Captain Sora's voice crackled with static. She was still 3 days away with the human fleet. "Ambassador, we're pushing the engines beyond." "Safe limits, but we can't get there in time. You're on your own." "Understood, Captain," replied Taemin. "See you on the other side." The Ravager ships began their descent toward the planet. They moved like a swarm of insects, coordinating their attack with terrifying precision. The first wave hit the northern continent. Sung-Ho's improvised weapons, crystal resonators overloaded to create explosive harmony, met them head-on. The effect was spectacular and horrible. Entire Serentai cities detonated in brilliant displays of light and sound, taking out clusters of Ravager ships. But each explosion also destroyed 1,000 years of beautiful crystal architecture. "It's working," reported Ha-un from the coordination center. "We've taken out almost 50 of their ships." "But at what cost?" asked Dr. Mene, watching the destruction on the monitors. The Ravagers adapted quickly. They spread out, avoiding the major cities where the humans had set their traps. Instead, they began landing in rural areas, hunting individual Serentai who couldn't reach the caves in time. "We need to go mobile," said Taemin. "Teams of 2, protect the evacuation routes." What followed was the strangest battle in galactic history. 20 humans armed with hastily converted peaceful technology fought a running battle across a crystal paradise. Dr. Mene found herself using medical scanners as targeting devices, guiding explosive crystal formations to strike Ravager. Ground troops. Kyung-soo turned agricultural growth stimulators into weapons that could rapidly grow crystal barriers to protect fleeing civilians. Ha-Yun used her anthropological knowledge of Serentai culture to predict where civilians would go, allowing the humans to set up protective positions in advance. The battle raged for hours. The humans couldn't match the Ravagers' numbers or firepower, but they had something the aliens didn't expect: the ability to think like both predators and protectors. They used the Serentai's own harmonic communication network to coordinate their defense, turning the planet's peaceful infrastructure into a military command system. Engineer Sung-Ho made the ultimate sacrifice when a group of Ravagers cornered 300 Serentai civilians in a crystal grove. He overloaded a massive harmonic amplifier, creating an explosion that destroyed the entire area and himself along with it. But he saved 300 innocent lives. As the day wore on, the tide began to turn. The humans had learned to use every piece of Serentai technology as a weapon. More importantly, they had taught some of the younger Serentai to help. The crystal beings couldn't fight directly. Their nature wouldn't allow it. But they could sing to the crystal formations, making them grow faster and stronger to protect their human guardians. The turning point came when Taemin realized what the Ravagers really wanted. "They're not here to destroy the planet," he told Dr. Do-hyun over the communication network. "They're here to harvest the Serentai, all of them." "What's the difference?" asked Do-hyun. "They need them alive, which means they won't use their heaviest weapons near large populations." Taemin's plan was insane, but it was their only chance. The humans would gather all the remaining Serentai civilians in the planet's largest crystal cathedral. The Ravagers would have to come to them, and they wouldn't be able to use their ship-based weapons without destroying their prey. It would be a final stand in the most beautiful building in the galaxy. Over 50,000 Serentai gathered in, the Grand Harmony Cathedral. The building was a masterpiece of crystal architecture, its walls singing with pure, perfect tones that could be heard across the continent. The surviving humans, only 12 now, prepared for the final battle. They had converted the cathedral's harmonic systems into a massive weapon, but using it would destroy the building and everyone inside. As the Ravagers surrounded the cathedral, Elder Yentara approached Taemin. "Human friend," she sang, "I begin to understand what you are." "What am I?" asked Taemin. "You are harmony made violent. You are peace with teeth. You are what we could never be." The first Ravagers entered the cathedral, their forms grotesque against the crystal beauty around them. "Activate the harmonic overload," ordered Taemin. "Sir," said Dr. Do-hyun, "that will bring down the entire structure. We'll all die." "Better than letting them harvest these people," replied Taemin. But before Do-hyun could activate the weapon, a new sound filled the air. "Ship engines! Human ship engines!" Captain Sora's voice came over the communication system, clearer than it had. "Been in hours. Sorry we're late to the party. Permission to crash it?" Through the crystal walls of the cathedral, the humans could see the 3 battered ships of their fleet diving through the atmosphere. The UES Resilience, still showing scars from the last battle, led the charge. The rescue was swift and brutal. Human weapons tore through the Ravager forces with deadly efficiency. The aliens had expected to face only the unarmed cultural exchange team. They were not prepared for the full fury of humanity's military might. Within an hour, the surviving Ravager ships were fleeing the system. In the aftermath, as the humans helped tend to wounded Serentai and began the long process of cleanup, Elder Yentara made a declaration that would change galactic history. She stood in the ruins of the Grand Harmony Cathedral and sang her message directly to the Galactic Council through subspace communication. "Council friends," her harmonic voice carried across the galaxy, "you asked these humans to prove they had evolved beyond their predatory nature. You were wrong to ask this." Her crystal form blazed with brilliant light. "They have not evolved beyond their nature. They have perfected it. Their predatory instincts, their capacity for violence, their willingness to die for strangers, these are not flaws to be corrected. They are gifts to be celebrated." She gestured to the humans around her, bloodied and exhausted from their battle. "We Serentai have lived in perfect peace for 1 billion years. But when evil came for us, our peace was helpless. These humans, these beautiful monsters, stood between us and extinction. They bled for us. They died for us. They saved us." Her voice rose to a crescendo that could be heard on every council world. "You fear their violence? You should. But you should fear it the way prey fears the hunter who protects them from worse predators. These humans are not our enemies. They are our guardians." The massive doors of the Galactic Council chamber opened with a soft hiss. Taeho Kim walked through them with steady steps, his black diplomatic uniform pressed and clean. Behind him came Sora Park and Minho Lee, both carrying data tablets, and wearing the same calm expression as their leader. The chamber was huge. Thousands of seats rose up in circles around a central speaking area. Most of the seats were filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some looked like giant lizards. Others had tentacles instead of arms. A few glowed with soft light. They all had one thing in common. They looked down at the humans with barely hidden dislike. Taeho had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council for 10 years. He had given the same speech many times before. Today would be different. Today would be the last time. "Honored council members," Taeho began, his voice clear and strong. "I come before you today with humanity's final request for full membership. In this council," a low rumble of voices filled the chamber. Many of the aliens were already shaking their heads or making dismissive gestures with whatever they used for hands. Counselor Vextar of the Vorthak Empire stood up from his golden chair. The Vorthak looked like a cross between a snake and a bird, with scales that changed color when he was angry. Right now, they were turning a deep red. Ambassador Kim, Vexitar said, his voice dripping with fake politeness. How many times must we explain this to your kind? Humanity has only been part of galactic society for 50 years. Some of us have been here for thousands of years. You are children playing at politics. Tae-ho did not let his face show any anger. He had expected this response. Counselor Vextar, in those 50 years, human trade routes have connected over 300 worlds. Our medical research has saved millions of lives across dozens of species. Our farming methods have ended hunger on 47 planets. Minor contributions. Vexitar waved a clawed hand. Any species could have done the same given enough time. Sora Park stepped forward and handed Tae-ho a data tablet. The numbers on it would shock the council if they bothered to look, but Tae-ho knew they would not. Our quantum communication networks, Tae-ho continued, allow instant messages across the entire galaxy. Before humans, it took months for information to travel between star systems. General Morthak of the Zenthari Federation laughed. The sound was like metal scraping against stone. Your technology is useful, yes, but useful servants do not need to sit at the master's table. An angry murmur ran through the human section of the chamber. There were not many humans present, maybe 30 people in total. They were researchers, diplomats, and trade representatives. All of them had worked hard to build relationships with other species. All of them had been treated like second-class citizens despite their efforts. Minho Lee's jaw tightened, but he stayed silent. He had learned long ago that showing anger in this place only made things worse. Tae-ho looked around the chamber. He saw the same faces he had been looking at for 10 years, the proud Vorthax who thought their age made them wise, the warlike Zenthari, who only respected military strength, the mysterious ethereals, who spoke in riddles and acted like they knew secrets no one else could understand. We have asked for equal representation, Tae-ho said. We have asked for a voice in decisions that affect human worlds. We have asked to be treated as partners, not servants. And we have answered, Vextar replied with a cruel smile. The answer is no. Your species is too young, too aggressive, too unpredictable. Perhaps in another century we might think about it. The other council members nodded and made sounds of agreement. They had heard this conversation before. It always ended the same way. But today, Tae-ho did something different. Instead of arguing further, he closed his data tablet and handed it to Sora. Instead of making another passionate speech about human achievements, he simply nodded. I understand, he said quietly. You have made your position clear. The council members looked surprised. Usually, the human ambassador would argue for another hour. He would show charts and graphs. He would list human contributions to galactic society. He would make emotional appeals about fairness and equality. However, Tae-ho continued, I must inform this council that this was humanity's final request. We will not ask again. Vexitar laughed. Good. Perhaps now we can focus on important matters instead of babysitting. Tae-ho looked directly at the Vorthak counselor. His eyes were calm but cold. You misunderstand me, counselor. We will not ask again because we no longer wish to be part of this council. The chamber fell silent. Even the usual background chatter of translation devices stopped. What exactly are you saying, Ambassador? Asked Counselor Yulmoth of the Traders Guild. The slug-like alien sounded worried. I am saying that humanity formally withdraws its request for membership. We also give notice that we will be reviewing all of our current agreements and partnerships. General Morthak stood up, his 4 arms crossed over his chest. You cannot simply leave galactic society. You need us more than we need you. Tae-ho smiled for the first time that day. It was not a happy smile. Do we? Sora Park activated her data tablet and projected a hologram into the center of the chamber. Numbers and charts filled the air. The data showed exactly how much the galactic economy depended on human involvement. 70% of medical equipment, Sora said in a clear voice. 40% of food production, 90% of quantum, communication infrastructure, 30% of interstellar shipping. Lies, Vextar hissed. Your kind always exaggerates your importance. Min-Ho Lee spoke for the first time. These numbers come from your own council records. We simply added them up. The projection changed to show trade routes. Bright lines connected thousands of worlds. Most of the lines were blue, indicating human-operated or human-designed systems. Impossible, whispered Counselor Thexnall of the Scientific Union. We developed these technologies ourselves. You adopted technologies we shared freely, Tae-Ho corrected. There is a difference. The council members looked at each other with growing concern. They had never bothered to check how much they relied on human innovations. Humans were supposed to be the junior members of galactic society. They were supposed to be grateful for being allowed to participate at all. This is blackmail, General Morthak growled. You threaten us to get what you want. No, Tae-Ho said firmly. This is information. We offered to be your partners. You chose to treat us as servants. That is your right. But it is also our right to choose not to serve. He gestured to Sora and Min-Ho. The three humans gathered their materials and prepared to leave. Wait, Counselor Yulmoth called out. Surely we can discuss this. Perhaps some form of limited membership? Tae-Ho stopped and looked back. For 50 years we have contributed to this civilization. We have shared our knowledge, our resources, our ideas. We have fought beside you in wars and helped you in disasters. And for 50 years, you have told us we are not good enough to have a voice in our own fate. The chamber was completely silent now. Even the most arrogant council members seemed to understand that something important was happening. We learned much during our time here, Tae-Ho continued. We learned about different species and cultures. We learned about galactic law and politics. Most importantly, we learned that some beings will never see others as equals, no matter what they do. He turned to face the council one last time. We thank you for the lesson. We will not forget it. The three humans walked toward the exit. Their footsteps echoed in the silent chamber. You will be back, Vextar called after them. You need galactic civilization more than it needs you. Tae-Ho paused at the door but did not turn around. We shall see. The doors closed behind them, with a soft hiss. In the chamber, thousands of aliens sat in uncomfortable silence. They had expected this meeting to end like all the others, with humans begging for acceptance and aliens graciously refusing. Instead, they found themselves wondering what would happen next. In the hallway outside, Sora looked at her companions. Do you think they understand what just happened? Min-Ho shook his head. They think we are bluffing. They think we will come back in a few months, ready to accept whatever scraps they offer us. Tae-Ho smiled, and this time it was genuine. Then they are in for quite a surprise. The three humans walked away from the council chamber for the last time. Behind them, the greatest deliberative body in the galaxy began to learn that some mistakes cannot be undone. 6 months had passed since the humans walked out of the council chamber. At first, nothing seemed to change. Ships still traveled between stars. Trade continued as usual. The galaxy kept spinning as it always had. Then the reports started coming. In the first was from New Terra, a farming world on the outer rim. The planetary governor sent a message to the council saying that all human residents had simply disappeared overnight. Their homes were empty but clean. Their equipment was gone. Even their plants and animals were missing. Counselor Yulmoth read the report during a routine trade meeting. He found it odd but not alarming. Perhaps they moved to another world, he suggested to his aide. Humans are always restless. The second report came from the Kepler mining station. The human engineers who ran the quantum extraction systems had vanished. They left behind detailed instructions for basic maintenance, but nothing more. The station manager, a Zenthari named Kextor, was frustrated. "The humans took all the advanced equipment," he complained to General Morthak. "They said it belonged to their companies. Now our production is down 40%. Similar reports arrived every day. Human colonies were going dark across the galaxy. Not destroyed, not attacked, simply empty. It was as if entire populations had decided to leave at the same time." Dr. Hyun-Soo Choi had been the galaxy's leading expert on quantum tunneling technology. His research had made faster than light, travel safer and more efficient. Ships using his designs could cross the galaxy in days instead of months. One morning, his laboratory on Nexus Prime was empty. His assistants were gone. His equipment was missing. The only thing left behind was a note thanking the scientific union for their cooperation and stating that all research would continue elsewhere. Counselor Thexnall was not pleased. "How can they just take their research?" he demanded. "That technology belongs to the galaxy." His legal advisor, a careful being named Morzet, checked the contracts. "Actually, sir, Dr. Choi and his team retained all intellectual property rights. They were only sharing their knowledge, not giving it away. But that means—" "Yes, sir. It means they can take it with them. Captain Jiwoo Han commanded the largest merchant fleet in known space. Her ships carried goods between hundreds of worlds. Her company employed thousands of beings from dozens of species. Her trade routes were essential to galactic commerce. On a Tuesday morning, every ship in her fleet simply disappeared from their scheduled routes. Cargo containers sat waiting at spaceports across the galaxy. Orders went unfilled. Entire worlds found themselves cut off from vital supplies. The Traders Guild held an emergency meeting. Counselor Yulmoth was sweating, which was unusual for his species. "This is not possible," he said, waving his tentacles nervously. "Captain Han's company has contracts, legal obligations. They cannot simply abandon their responsibilities." His assistant handed him a data pad. "Sir, we have received formal notices from every human-owned shipping company. They are all terminating their contracts. According to galactic law, they have the right to do so with 6 months' notice." 6 months? But that means they started the process right after the council rejected their membership request. Yulmoth felt something cold in his stomach. The humans had been planning this from the beginning. Reports kept flooding in. The Rigel Medical Center lost its entire human staff in one day. The Vega Agricultural Research Station went silent. The Centauri Communication Hub shut down its human-designed quantum relay systems. Counselor Vextar was getting angry. His scales had been bright red for weeks. "This is sabotage," he declared during a council session. "The humans are trying to cripple our civilization." "With respect, Counselor," said a small voice from the back of the chamber. "They are not sabotaging anything. They are simply leaving." Everyone turned to look at the speaker. It was K-Jin Yoon, one of the few humans who had remained on Nexus Prime. She worked as a trade coordinator and had always been quiet during council meetings. "Explain yourself," Vexitar demanded. K-Jin stood up slowly. She was young for a human, maybe 30 years old. She looked tired but determined. "The humans are not destroying anything," she said. "They are taking their own property and canceling their own contracts. Everything they are doing is completely legal under galactic law. But the economic damage is the natural result of their departure. You never realized how much you depended on them because they never made a big deal about it." General Morthak slammed his fist on his desk. "Where are they going? Our scouts report strange energy readings beyond the galactic rim, but they find nothing when they investigate." K-Jin shrugged. "I honestly do not know. I chose to stay behind to help with the transition." "What transition?" Yulmoth asked nervously. "The transition to managing without human involvement. It will be challenging." That was putting it mildly. Economic reports were getting worse every day. Planets that had relied on human farming techniques were facing food shortages. Medical facilities could not repair their human-designed equipment when it broke down. Communication between distant worlds was becoming slow and unreliable as quantum relay networks failed. The Zenthari military was having problems too. General Morthak discovered that 40% of his fleet's navigation systems were based on human technology. Worse, the software updates that kept them running had stopped coming. "How long before these systems fail completely?" he asked his chief engineer. "Unknown, sir. The humans built them to last, but without maintenance updates, maybe a year, maybe less." "And we cannot fix them ourselves?" "Sir, the technology is far more advanced than anything we understand. We can use it, but we cannot maintain it." It was the same story everywhere. The humans had shared their inventions freely, but they had never explained how the inventions worked. The galaxy had become dependent on technologies they did not truly understand. Dr. Yoonji Ko had been humanity's technology liaison for 15 years. She had patiently explained human inventions to alien scientists and helped them adapt the technology for their own use. Like most humans, she had seemed happy to share knowledge freely. Now she was gone, and the aliens discovered that all her explanations had been simplified versions of the truth. The real science behind human technology was far more complex than anyone had realized. Counselor Thexanol tried to contact her through quantum communication but got no response. He tried sending messages to other human scientists. Nothing. It was as if humanity had simply vanished from the galaxy. "Perhaps we should send a fleet to find them," suggested General Morthak during another emergency council session. "If we cannot convince them to return, we can force them." Several council members nodded agreement. The Zenthari military was the most powerful force in the galaxy. Surely they could handle a few rebellious humans. Vextar was not so sure. "What do we actually know about human military capabilities?" he asked. The question made everyone uncomfortable. Humans had fought beside council forces in several conflicts, but they had always seemed to be holding back. Their ships were fast and their weapons were effective, but they never showed their full strength. "They cannot have much," Morthak said with confidence. "They are a young species. They have not had time to build a real military." "And yet," Thexnol pointed out, "they have developed technology we cannot understand or replicate. Perhaps we should be more careful." The debate continued for hours. In the end, they decided to send a reconnaissance fleet to investigate the energy readings beyond the galactic rim. It was a compromise that satisfied no one. Meanwhile, more human colonies kept disappearing. The pattern was always the same. People would go about their normal business, then suddenly everyone would be gone. No signs of struggle, no messages of goodbye, just empty buildings and missing equipment. Kei Jin-yoon watched the reports with a sad expression. She had tried to warn the council, but they had not listened. Now it was too late to stop what was happening. "How long have they been planning this?" Yulmoth asked her during a private meeting. "Since the first time you rejected their membership request," she replied honestly. "Humans think ahead. When it became clear that the council would never accept them as equals, they started making other plans. But this will hurt them too. They will lose access to galactic markets, galactic knowledge, galactic protection." Kei Jin smiled sadly. "Will they? Or have they been quietly building something better?" The counselor did not like the sound of that question. Far beyond the edge of the galaxy, where council ships feared to go, something vast was taking shape. Energy readings spiked across impossible distances. Artificial structures grew in the darkness between stars. And somewhere in that darkness, millions of humans were hard at work building a new future, a future that did not include the Galactic Council. 1 year after the humans began leaving, the Galactic Council faced a crisis unlike anything in their history. What had started as minor inconveniences had grown into a complete economic collapse. The emergency session was called for the third time that month. The Great Chamber, once filled with proud and confident beings, now held frightened politicians who were finally beginning to understand what they had lost. Counselor Yulmoth stood at the center of the chamber, his slug-like body trembling as he read from a data pad. The numbers were getting worse every day. Food production on 47 worlds has dropped by 60%, he announced. Medical facilities on 32 planets have closed due to equipment failures. Communication between Outer Rim territories is down to 30% of normal capacity. General Morthak interrupted with a growl. What about the reconnaissance fleet? Have they found anything? The fleet returned yesterday, Yulmoth replied. They report massive energy signatures beyond the Galactic Rim, but they could not get close enough to investigate. Their ships experienced technical difficulties. What kind of technical difficulties? Every system that relied on human technology began to malfunction when they approached the energy sources. Navigation, communications, life support, everything started failing. The chamber filled with worried murmurs. If the Zenthari military, the most powerful force in the galaxy, could not even investigate the humans, what hope did anyone else have? Counselor Vextar had been unusually quiet lately. His scales, usually bright and confident, had faded to a dull gray. The Vorthak Empire was in serious trouble. Their entire economic system had been built on technologies they were now discovering they did not understand. We need to bring them back, he said finally. Whatever it takes. How? Asked Thexnall. We do not even know where they are exactly. We still have one human left. Vextar pointed to where Kai Jin Yoon sat in the observers section. She can contact them for us. All eyes turned to the young human woman. She had been attending council meetings for months, watching with quiet sadness as the galaxy fell apart. Now she stood up slowly and walked to the center of the chamber. I cannot contact them, she said simply. I have no more communication with human space than you do. But you are human, Morthak protested. Surely they would listen to you. Kei-Jin shook her head. I chose to stay behind to help with the transition. That was my decision. It does not give me any special influence with those who left. Then what do you suggest? Vextar asked desperately. For the first time in months, Kei-Jin smiled, but it was not a happy smile. I suggest you understand what you have lost. She activated a holographic projector and filled the chamber with data. The information was overwhelming. Charts, graphs, technical specifications, economic models, all showing the true extent of human involvement in galactic civilization. You see, Kei-Jin began, you always thought humans were just another member species. Useful, perhaps, but not essential. You were wrong. The first chart showed medical technology. Red indicators marked every piece of equipment that was human-designed or human-modified. The chamber gasped. Nearly everything was red. 70% of all medical equipment in the galaxy, Kei-Jin explained. Not just designed by humans, but dependent on human-developed materials and manufacturing processes that no other species has mastered. The chart changed to show agricultural systems. Again, red markers dominated the display. Human farming techniques feed 40% of the galactic population. The high-yield crops, the soil treatment methods, the pest control systems, all human innovations. She clicked to the next chart. This one showed communication networks. The entire galaxy was connected by lines of light, and most of those lines were red. Quantum communication networks. Before humans, messages took months to cross the galaxy. Now they are instant. But the quantum stabilization technology that makes it possible? That is human science that no one else understands. The presentations continued for an hour. Transportation systems, manufacturing processes, energy generation, waste management, terraforming technology, humans had been involved in developing or improving almost every aspect of modern galactic civilization. "This is impossible," whispered Counselor Thexnall. "We developed these technologies ourselves. Humans just helped." "No," Kei-Jin said firmly. "Humans developed these technologies and shared them with you. There is a big difference." She showed them another chart. This one compared the technology that humans had shared with the galaxy to the technology they had kept for themselves. The difference was shocking. What you see here is the gap between what we showed you and what we actually know. Every innovation we shared was simplified for your use. The real science behind it was far more advanced. Vextar stared at the data in horror. "You mean humans have been holding back?" "Not holding back. Being careful. When you share advanced technology with less developed species, you have to make sure they can use it safely. We gave you tools you could handle. We kept the dangerous ones for ourselves." The implications were staggering. For 50 years, the galaxy had thought of humans as clever but limited. In reality, humans had been carefully managing their technological superiority to avoid disrupting galactic society. "But why?" asked Yulmoth. "Why share anything at all? Why not keep it all for yourselves?" "Because we wanted to be part of your community," Kei-Jin replied sadly. "We thought that by contributing to galactic civilization, we could earn respect and acceptance. We thought that by showing our value, you would see us as equals." "And we did not," Vextar said quietly. "No, you did not. You saw our contributions as services to be expected, not gifts to be appreciated. You saw our desire for partnership as weakness, not strength." The chamber was silent for a long moment. The weight of their mistake was finally becoming clear. General Morthak tried one more time. "Surely they cannot survive alone. They need galactic markets, galactic resources, galactic protection." Kei-Jin laughed, but there was no humor in it. "General, let me ask you something. What do humans import from the galaxy?" Morthak thought for a moment. "Raw materials, food, manufactured goods. Wrong on all counts. Humans are completely self-sufficient. They only traded with the galaxy because they wanted to be part of galactic society, not because they needed anything. She showed them trade, data. The numbers were clear. Humans exported far more than they imported. Their trade relationships had been gifts to other species, not necessities for themselves. The rare metals you thought we needed? We can synthesize them. The food you thought we could not grow? We developed better farming methods than anyone else in the galaxy. The manufactured goods you thought we required, our automated systems can produce anything we need. What about protection?" Morthak demanded. "What about military support?" Kei-Jin's expression became very serious. "General, in 50 years of galactic conflicts, how many times have you seen humans at full military capacity?" "Well, never, I suppose. You always seemed to be holding back." "We were. And not just a little. Would you like to know why your reconnaissance fleet really turned back?" The general nodded nervously. "Because the humans let them. Your ships did not experience technical failures. They experienced controlled demonstrations of human defensive capabilities. Every system that stopped working could have been permanently disabled. Every ship that turned back could have been destroyed. The humans were being polite." The chamber erupted in frightened voices. If the humans had been holding back that much military power, what else had they been hiding? Counselor Thexnall raised his voice above the noise. "How long have you known about this?" "I have always known," Kei-Jin replied. "I am human. I grew up seeing our real capabilities. What shocked me was discovering that the rest of the galaxy thought what we showed you was everything we had. But you never said anything. Would you have listened? Would you have believed that the junior member species was actually the most advanced civilization in the galaxy?" Or would you have seen it as a threat to be eliminated? No one answered. They all knew what the Council's reaction would have been. Dr. Yoonji Ko appeared on a holographic screen. The former technology liaison looked exactly the same as when she had left, but she was clearly somewhere else. Behind her, they could see glimpses of technology that looked impossibly advanced. "Hello, Council," she said politely. "I understand you have questions about human capabilities." "Dr. Ko!" Vextar jumped to his feet. "Where are you? What are you doing?" "I am in human space, working on projects that would have been impossible within galactic territory. As for what I am doing," she gestured behind her, "building the future." "You have to come back," Yulmoth pleaded. "The galaxy needs you. We made a mistake. We can fix this." Dr. Ko looked sad but determined. "I am afraid it is too late for that. The decision has been made. Humanity is moving on." The transmission ended, leaving the Council in stunned silence. Kei-Jin gathered her materials and prepared to leave. "Where are you going?" Vextar called after her. "Home," she said simply. "My job here is finished." "What job?" "To help you understand what you lost. And to make sure you understood it was your choice to lose it." She walked out of the chamber, leaving behind a room full of beings who finally realized they had made the biggest mistake in galactic history.